Hey everyone, it's Churches, Graveyards and Graves, and today I'm in the old St Augustine's, which is opposite the new St Augustine's, and I've come into this grounds. I mean, it's a beautiful church, and this church has probably been around since around 1189. The one that we see today is 14th century, but what I want to show you is this behind me, and it's the medieval cross, and I'm gonna just do a little talk for you about medieval crosses, because you don't see them in many churchyards, mostly the oldest churchyards. So we're going to have a little look at it and do a little explanation. So first I just want to show you the old St Augustine's, so you can see that it's now no longer in use. The old chapel area. Obviously there would have been something else in this middle section, but now that's no longer here. And then you've got this, still the old tower, and behind that is the graveyard. So this is the old St Augustine's, and the new one is over the road, which they rebuilt because it had got into such disrepair that it was no longer feasible to repair it. But today we want to look at this. This is the medieval cross. This is from the 14th century. Now originally, obviously, you wouldn't have had this. This has obviously been broke, and you would have had a cross straight above it, and most of it is actually underground. So you can sort of see, as I come out a little bit, that there's this area here, and most of the medieval cross is actually buried underground. And this cross is actually 14th century. Now, in medieval times, certainly before the Reformation, you would have had a medieval cross, and this would have been to denote that this was a holy burial ground. Obviously in later times you would then get the graves, which had individual names, but you didn't really get that prior to the medieval times. Prior to the Reformation, you were generally getting what was the medieval cross, which just basically denoted a burial ground. And this top step is what is called the penitent step. So repentant sinners would come here and kneel before the cross on this step as penitents. So that is the purpose of that particular top step. And like you say, it's very rare to get medieval graves pre-Reformation which were denoted for individuals. Most of it was just a representation that there were people buried here. So we can imagine that even though we've got the odd grave here, and you can see another grave over there with the urn on top, that in actual fact this whole area is probably got people buried underneath it, but without any kind of marking. I also want to show you something else here, because this is kind of interesting. So I saw this, and it's just a really interesting thing. It's hard to find any real information, but I think the grave speaks for itself. It says, "Here resteth the body of Sarah Clifford Fernyhough, relict of." I like the way they put that, don't you? Relict of. But it basically means like the widow of. It was just an old way of writing it. The relict of, you can see that name, of Captain Thomas Fernyhough. So actually it's more of a grave. You know, in them days they lived in a much more misogynistic society, much more, I shouldn't say misogynistic, maybe patriarchal society than what we see today. It was all about the man, really, even though, you know, this is actually the grave of Sarah. It's basically talking about the man, which is Captain Thomas Fernyhough, governor of the Military Knights of Windsor. So it must have been an old order, who died at Trent Cottage, Hixon, 14th of March 1856, aged 76 years. So the captain died, you know, quite elderly really for the time, at 76 years old. "In the hour of death and in the day of judgment, good Lord deliver us." Her surviving stepchildren, in grateful and affectionate remembrance of their beloved mother, have erected this memorial stone. Also of Anna Sophia, daughter of the late Captain Thomas Fernial, who died at Stafford, November the 3rd, 1870, aged 60 years. So it's more of a memorial grave, but it's interesting that the stepchildren have actually set up this grave. And you've got this as well, this crown with the sun, which is quite unusual. And there's actually some writing here, and it says, "I know in whom I have believed." So it's like a confirmation of their beliefs as well. And this is showing like the crown of life and the sun as well. But I actually have never really come across this, the Military Knights of Windsor. So it'd be interesting if anyone can find out any information on that. So I hope you found that interesting about the medieval cross and Captain Thomas. And I'll see you again soon from St Augustine's in Rugeley.